documentary that chronicles Lance Armstrong's explosive fall from grace. Sounds interesting. Very interesting indeed. Hello YouTube, Film Buff 06 here, coming your way with a review of the 2013 documentary film The Armstrong Lie, which was written and directed by the Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker and Michael Moore of our time, Alex Gibney, who also narrates the piece. Alex Gibney is also responsible for directing such documentaries about controversial subjects such as Enron, the Smartest Guys in the Room, which was about the 2001 collapse of the Enron Corporation, Taxi to the Dark Side, which was about the USA's torture and interrogation policy, which ultimately won Gibney the Oscar back in 2007. Gonzo, The Life and Work of Hunter S. Thompson, Casino Jack and the United States of Money, which was about the corrupt lobbyist Jack Abramoff, Client 9, The Rise and Fall of Elliot Spitzer, Mia Maxima Culpa, Silence in the House of God, which centered on child abuse within the Catholic Church, and We Steal Secrets, the story of WikiLeaks. Gibney also professed that this particular documentary about disgraced cyclist Lance Armstrong was literally 5 years in the making. Now, The Armstrong Lie takes its name from the French newspaper headline Le Mensonge Armstrong, was originally titled The Road Back, and was really supposed to celebrate Lance Armstrong himself by chronicling his attempted comeback to winning the Tour de France for an 8th time back in 2009 after a 4-year retirement. After a self-imposed 4-year retirement. But when, during a live TV interview with Oprah Winfrey in early January 2013, Armstrong publicly confessed to doping after years and years of denial upon denial to allegations that he was a drugs cheat and had taken performance-enhancing drugs during his 7 consecutive Tour de France wins between 1999 and 2005, which he secured after successfully battling testicular cancer in the early 90s. The film went in an entirely different direction and ultimately became a story of betrayal, deceit, mass media manipulation, absolute power corrupting absolutely, and really one man's singular determination to be the best at his sport, no matter what the consequences may be. And the documentary is basically about Alex Gibney himself questioning how he got drawn into the beautiful lie and why. It also features some really candid and quite revealing interviews with former colleagues and teammates from Armstrong's inner circle, including Floyd Landis, who was the first former cyclist to spill the beans on what Armstrong was actually doing. Dr. Michele Ferrari, who was the controversial physician who supplied Armstrong and the other cyclists with the very first performance-enhancing drugs. Frankie and Andreu, a former teammate of Armstrong, and his wife Betsy, who incidentally led the USADA's investigation into Armstrong's doping practices by testifying against him. Alberto Contador, who is a Spanish cyclist and winner of the 2007 Tour de France, who became one of the first cyclists to actually admit to blood doping. Another former teammate of Armstrong, George Hincapie, and sports journalist David Walsh, who was actually responsible for uncovering the doping program that Armstrong and the US Postal Service cycling team were concocting behind closed doors. And these interviews paint Armstrong as an egotistical bully and manipulator, a compulsive liar, and a narcissistic ringleader who would stop at absolutely nothing to totally destroy the credibility of fellow cyclists who were accused of blood doping, and B, proceed to go to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks and preserve his public image as a sports hero and a superman, so to speak. So, what are my thoughts on the Armstrong Lie? Well, coming from someone who is not really a sports or cycling fan in real life, nor is a fan of the guy, or even heard of this extraordinary sports story, apart from seeing, a clip or two of the Oprah Winfrey interview. This documentary served as a very interesting sort of history lesson for me to easily follow, in terms of, giving me a clear and incredibly detailed idea of who this man really was and what he did. And I personally, found myself drawn into the story. Speaking of the story, the fascinating story of Lance Armstrong is in a way sort of a Shakespearean or Greek tragedy in and of itself, of one seemingly powerful, untouchable, but really flawed man's gradual downfall through personal hubris and human frailty. In this case, Armstrong indirectly secured his own downfall through consistently lying to the press through his own teeth, manipulating the mass media, and compulsively trampling on anyone around him who dared to tell the truth. And as a result of this, he paid the ultimate price for it. Alex Gibney directs this thing with an edge of, true anger and intellect, as if he couldn't believe that he was being misled all this time by such a well-known, very talented and powerful athlete, and financially powerful athlete like Armstrong, and really going, David Frost or Michael Parkinson on Armstrong's ass, and trying to really get him to really spill the beans on why he lied all this time. I also thought it was interesting that we get to see the origins of the sport, the origins of cycling itself, and why it was really mandatory at the time for cyclists to dope, and the controversial, and also the controversial argument of whether or not it is okay to blood dope while cycling, which clearly is not. Anyway, I also loved the footage at the start from, Larry King Live, South Park, and especially The Daily Show. It was quite hilarious seeing these three shows, take the piss out of Armstrong after his, confessional interview with Oprah. The middle section of the film, however, I found to be a bit baggy and boring. And you could also clearly tell that this film was cobbled together from two completely different movies, and that Gibney had to change the tone of this film at the last minute. But all of this doesn't mean I never took my eyes away from the 2 hours of film for even a split second. The ending, of course, doesn't answer all the questions that were probably asked, but I have to say it was, and actually is, quite sad to see Armstrong himself literally lose everything after the events of his admission. All seven of his tour wins, his friends, his family, his teammates, the charity he founded to cure cancer patients called Live Strong, his money, and even his reputation, plus the future of cycling as a sport, becoming really uncertain now as a result of Armstrong's disgrace. Overall, while it's certainly not one of the best documentaries ever made, I have to say it is one of the most interesting ones. I would highly recommend this documentary to anyone who is a sports fan, particularly a cycling fan, and also to really documentary fans, really. My rating for the Armstrong Lie is an 8 out of 10. Now, feel free to leave a comment in the section below and let me know your thoughts on the Armstrong Lie. Plus, feel free to subscribe to my channel. My next video is going to be my DVD collection update video for this month, which will also include brief reviews of the recent teaser trailers that we've had for Jurassic World, Pan, and of course Star Wars The Force Awakens. So until then, do take care everyone, and goodbye.